I like the approach you took. Rather than giving a tome, you had a series of short pages. Your 2 minute 50-second songs like you'd get off of most albums.
Yeah.
It was very sharp. What inspired you? I'm curious.
So I need to tell you the backstory, which involves being slightly drunk.
Here we go.
So the backstory is that I think it was actually around about this time in December of 2017, I was in the pub, a local pub here. I live in a place called Brighton on the south coast of England, although I'm an expatriate Scot, as it were. And I was in the pub with a friend of mine, Oisin, and we were drinking Guinness, as we do. He's Irish, and I just like Guinness. And we were talking about where we were at with the whole experience sort of space. And I was sort of bemoaning the fact that that there seemed to be a lot of activity, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of investment kind of in the space, but there was not a lot of significant improvement in some of the outcomes. And I guess what some drunks might call like a moment of clarity, I sort of extolled, I wish somebody would do something a bit more punk, kind of like to break the impasse. I think that we found ourselves that we got to
shake it up a bit.
Yeah, and so that, as normally happens after a couple of beers, I promptly forgot about that idea, but it kind of fell into the back of my mind, and then kind of like popped back into my head in the summer of 2018 punk stuff, and I was starting to think about where punk came from, and I realized that actually punk exploded at the back of prog rock, or progressive rock as it was known in the 1970s. Now, whilst progressive rock was popular, it also got accused of being, overly elaborate, self-indulgent. It's all about like how many notes you can play on your guitar, or how many synths you can play simultaneously, sort of thing. And they become this thing. It's almost a bit like the virtuosity of the musicians became a barrier to entry, as it were. Mm-hmm. And then it got almost consumed with itself and its own virtuosity and musicality, as it were. Punk, I think, was a reaction to that. And it's sort of like when, actually, you know what? Anybody can do this. Let's make it DIY, democratic. Punk exploded at the back of it. Anybody can learn how to play the drums or guitar or write a song or whatever. And it dared to be different. And I thought about that evolution, and I thought to myself, wow, there's a hypothesis here. And the hypothesis is that the customer experience space is possibly exhibiting some of this same characteristics, if not similar characteristics, as prog rock did in the 1970s. I.e., it's becoming overly complicated, certified, codified, benchmark, metric, blah, 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 yada, 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 all that type of stuff. And therefore, more in danger of losing sight of its constituents, i.e., its customers, and more interested in itself and its own virtuosity, as it were. Mm-hmm. And that could be explained with the lack of results. And then I thought to myself, well, if prog rock was here and punk exploded at the back of it, and CX is looking a lot like prog rock, then what would a punk version of CX look like? What does that mean? And I was like, well, I don't know. So rather than write a book about it, shall we do something which is inspired by music? Can we put together like a series of tracks, as it were, like create an album?